Hey fam, happy Friday. Hope y'all had a good week. I realize I'm late coming with this, but I definitely wanted to get in my review of the Queen Sugar Season 4, Episode 7 up so that you can see it. Another good episode here, I must say. Okay, so if you like my videos, go ahead and hit the like button, okay? Become a subscriber and leave comments below so I know what you think, okay? All right, so this episode begins. Nova, she's arriving at her televised interview, and basically, when she gets there, the person who greets her ends up letting her know that the genealogist has found out new information about her father's side of the family, and she looks at it, and she looks like a little shocked and pissed at the same time, and she has absolutely refused to be part. She does not want this to be part of the interview. She seems shook over this information. Seriously. She only wanted her mom's side of her lineage to be revealed here. And she learns she is not the last woman left on her mom's side of the family, basically. She has a cousin who, her name is Martha, and she was her mother's first cousin, and she is still living. And she's like overjoyed to find this out. Can't believe it. It's a really good moment. Then we go from there. Charlie meets with a city councilwoman, and she lets her know off top. Lets her know that she does not trust her at all, basically. She does not want to work with her to stop the highway, basically. She's saying it doesn't look like we will. And Charlie's like, you've already made up your mind. And she's basically, she doesn't understand how the highway ended up, moved from where it was originally supposed to be built at to where it's aimed to be at now. She doesn't know, and basically she doesn't want to have anything to do with it until Charlie can tell her the full plan behind that highway, because it sort of seems like a loaded gun at this point. You don't know what's about to pop off if that thing goes off, so you need to know the full story of it. And let me see, Charlie, at this point, she's basically saying it's all the Landry's fault. They're the ones who did all this. And the woman counters her, basically telling her, until a few months ago, you were the Landrys. You were part of their business. You profited off of them. And she also says that she read Nova's book. She read that daggone book. So she doesn't exactly trust Charlie because of these two things, and rightfully so. Okay? It's an ugly picture her sister has painted of her to this society. And then she ends up telling her basically that I'd rather be betrayed by one of them than one of my own. This woman ain't playing, and she read Charlie. She read her. All right, she says, find the real reason behind the highway, basically. Why it was moved from the first place, like I said, and then we'll think about working with you. All right, so then we see at Ralph Angel's house on his property, the cops are arresting one of his employees. The employee that asked him about, him being Blue's dad. And they're arresting him for drugs, basically. They say that they found it in his car, and Ralph is like, you do know I have, cameras that survey this land. And the cop's like, really? Have you checked those cameras? Do you check them daily? Do you know they work? I mean, it's really obvious at this point. You can tell those cops have been watching him. They probably did the tinkering with the cameras to stop them from working and planted the drugs on this guy. It's real easy for them to come at somebody who just got out of prison, who has a record, plant something on them, and of course they look guilty as hell even though they did nothing. All right, let me see. Ralph is pissed, telling him I have a release program here, blah, blah, blah. It's in my dad's name. And the cop's like, yeah, I saw that. Basically, he don't give a damn. Okay, he's not concerned about the program he's running. So then, back over to Nova, and when she's leaving that place where she had the interview, she runs right into Calvin. The white cop that she used to talk to, the married white cop that she used to talk to. They're both in Philly at this time. And he lets her know almost immediately that he's divorced. All right. He congratulates her on her book, and he says it's not every day that the love of your life writes a book and tells the world that you're the love of hers. Damn. I like the chemistry here. We already know the chemistry was strong between Nova and Calvin when they were involved with each other. And it doesn't hurt that he's real easy on the eyes either. Okay. So they plan to have lunch for the next day, basically, and they part ways. Then we're over to Aunt Vi, and she's at her pie little cafe there, and basically she's talking to her coworker, saying that she misses Hollywood, basically, and all the help that he gives, because, you know, he does a lot of stuff around her cafe, and she really didn't, you know, feel that burn until he wasn't there to do those little jobs that he always does for her. So anyway, they leave together, turning the lights off, leave, lock up, and at this point you see someone. I'm thinking they were already in the restaurant when she closed and locked it, because they're in there and I didn't see it. They didn't show them enter, basically. But this person is hooded. They have, you know, a hoodie, a black hoodie on with a hood over their head, and they vandalized the hell out of Vi's pie shop. It's horrible. Tore it up, okay? So from there, we see Vi and the employee return, basically, and the employee is telling her, you need to call Hollywood for this. And she's like, no, he's with his mom, and she's like, I don't want to bother him with this. And she's like, I've always been strong. Damn, Vi is so hard-headed, y'all, like so hard-headed. I can do it, I can do it, I don't need help. And I can say this because I'm just like her, and it's to a fault. That is not always good, to try to take on the whole damn world when you have people that are around you that care about you and actually want to help you. There's just no reason for it. So let me see. Then we see Darla. Darla is entering her office job, and there's a group of people that are standing over by that little water, you know, the huge water bottle that you could drink out of in the office. Anyway, they're over there. They're talking, they're gossiping, they're kikiing, and it's pointed at her. She notices, you know, them looking at her, and she walks over to her desk, and these fools, they have Nova's book open to her chapter, open on her chair at her desk. She is immediately just pissed, whatever, but she grabs that book and she marches it over to the trash and drops it in there, and then she stands, arms closed, looking at her employees, and she's like, good morning. She stood strong in her right, basically letting them know, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, and I don't give a damn what y'all have to say. I was very proud of her for that. But right after that, she sits down at her desk, you know, to start doing her work, and she's shaking. She's shaking, you know, immensely. It's a reaction. She's going through some things, basically, and she picks up the phone and she goes to call Ralph Angel, and he doesn't answer. And it's like she's holding that phone thinking about leaving a message, but she decides not to. And you can tell Darla's really going through some things here. And those freaking coworkers. Let me say this. If you read the chapter, you realize that this woman had a drug problem, a serious problem that almost took her life. And somehow she found the strength inside of her to do something about it, to bring herself all the way back to a normal life, to get her son back. You see all that she went through, and instead of just ignoring what you've read, even if you know that it's her, you're going to stand around and kiki and laugh and gather around about it. Your actions, I would say, if it was someone else, I don't believe Darla will go down this road. However, you can easily send someone back into their drug of choice. You can send them right down the path they came from with your stupid, selfish, ignorant, immature actions. It's shame on those people that she works with. Just shame. Sorry, bastards. Okay, then we see Nova and Calvin. They meet for lunch, and he tells her that he's no longer a police officer, basically. He now has a security company, a small security company of his own. And she's like, you mean like The Bodyguard? Isn't she cute? I'm like, you know, because in The Bodyguard, there's Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, white guy, black girl. See what I'm saying? It's cute, okay? What you do see about them is their chemistry is so strong. It's electric. these two together, acting these scenes, just talking, catching up, their chemistry is vibrant and it's good, y'all. Like, I'm here for it. I'm kind of here for it. Okay, so then we see Vi. She's in the cafe basically, and Charlie's shown up there, and Charlie's like, well, did you call the police, because they're just looking at the mess? And she's like, I did, but they basically said they can't do much because I don't have video surveillance on my property. And she's like, you don't? And she's like, no, I honestly never thought I would need it. And probably before, she really never did. Before Charlie was running for office, before these doggone landlords started acting like jackasses, she probably didn't, but we're here now. All right, so then we see Ralph Angel. They're at his house in the dining room area, and he's got his new boo, that, the black woman that I don't know her name, and I can kick myself for that. I think she's beautiful. I love how she is dark skinned, drop dead gorgeous. She has extremely short natural hair, and I love her. I love her, and I really love her for him. But anyway, they're there, and they got his employee out of jail, and they're sitting at the table, and they're just trying to discuss the case. And the employee is just like shook. He is dead silent, basically. And Ralph definitely understands what he is going through. And he shows him sympathy, and they basically let him know that they are there to help him fight, okay? Because he's facing meth drug charges. That's what he's looking at with his current, already existing record, right? And then we see Vi, again, she's talking to Charlie. She says she hasn't spoke to Hollywood basically in like, a little while. And Charlie's like, are you guys okay? And she's like, yeah, we're fine. She says that she can't stand to be touched by the man that she loves after running into the man that she hates. She has, after speaking to the doctor, realized she has PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, basically, over all that happened years ago that she sort of shoved into a mental compartment and has not been able to deal with. Let me see. From there, we see Charlie and Ralph. And they meet with a man who has footage from across the street from Vi's Cafe. It's at the pharmacy across the street. And they're looking at the footage, around the time that this whole vandalizing of Vi's Cafe happened. And she spots Abe Miller. And Abe Miller, he's taking pictures of Vi's Cafe. And Ralph's like, who is that? And he's like, it's Jacob Bordelon's business consultant, basically. And she knows that because, as we saw in an episode or two ago, he was there with Jacob. All right. And it also catches the young man in the hoodie who Ralph Angel immediately recognizes and pulls her to the side and like, that's Joaquin. And she's like, that's Ignacio's son. And she's like, what? Tripped out. He's the one who did the damage. He vandalized Vi's place. His dad and his brother are about to be deported, basically. And Ralph's like, we can't do that to his mom. She's losing her husband and her oldest son. You cannot do... They're immediately thinking of his family. And they know that they can't go to the police, and they're not trying to, okay? Then we see Nova. And again, she's at lunch, and she's sharing with Calvin that her family isn't talking to her. They don't want anything to do with her. And you could tell that she's very sad and broken in this moment. And he's like, so you're on the road doing this all by yourself? And she's like, yeah, I am. And she says that she thinks that she's lost them for good, basically. And he doesn't think so. He's like, I really don't think so. He's like, there's way too much love there. And I'm going to leave that where it is because I'm still freaking pissed at Nova, okay? All right, so they talk of them and how they don't know how they feel, basically, right now, but running into each other made them question how they thought they had it all together. Basically, it's like they're going, working, moving, doing their thing. I got my life together. I'm good. And then now I run into you and you threw me all off kilter because there's definitely feelings there. So they end up going to a bar, basically. They're playing pool together, and they're doing that little you know, the flirty thing that you do when somebody's teaching you how to play pool, you know, the touching. And again, here, the chemistry is amazing between these two. All right, so then we see Ralph and his woman. She shows up to his property and they're talking, and she tells him basically that his reentry program is going to be under review and that they will try to shut him down. And Ralph is pissed, okay? He's like, all I can say is you can feel and understand every bit of his frustration, because this young man has pulled himself out of the trenches, and he's doing good. He has his own business. He has his own house. He's taking care of his son. He's doing so good. He started this reentry program. Not only am I going to advance myself, I'm going to reach back and grab those behind me who are walking the same kind of line I was and help you get to where I am today. And this is a damn shame. But she tells him, but they're not going to be able to do this without a fight. And she lets him know, she asked him about his surveillance cameras, and he's like, I believe they've been tampered with and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, we're going to find evidence that shows that they did. She's just all for him. And I have to say, he's feeling the hell out of her. Even though he's pissed and frustrated, he stops and he lets her know, I really appreciate what you're doing right now. And their chemistry is, I'm here for it. Okay, he says if he loses, they could revoke his grant funding and kill it. She's telling him, if you lose this, they can revoke your grant funding and kill the whole program. That's what he's up against here. So they're realizing this together, and they grab and they're hugging, and he leans down and gives her one hot kiss. I mean, I'm here for this, like this couple. Shoot. Okay, then we see Charlie meets with the pastor, the one that her man introduced to the Mexican pastor from the church. And so she's meeting with him, Joaquin, and his mother. And he's basically saying that there was a man who threatened to have his mom deported, just like his dad and his brother, if he didn't do what he was doing. Yeah, first he offered him $500 and he was like, no, and then he threatened him. So that's the reason that he did it. And his mom's like, you're not going to send my son to prison, are you? And she's speaking in Spanish, and Charlie's having a conversation with her in Spanish also. Uh-oh, our girl's bilingual. I had no idea. But, hey, do what you do, Charlie. So she's letting her know, no, we're not going to call the police. We're not going to do that to him. Then in this video, he also had him, he admits that I also threw the brick through your window. And she's like, what? So she shows him a picture of Abe Miller and asks, is this the guy who did it? And Joaquin's like, yeah, that's him. That's the guy. And she says that he works for the Landrys, basically. And the pastor is like, he recognizes the guy also. And he's like, actually, he's a guy who works for Old World Energy and gas company. And they realize that this whole thing is to set up fracking in their communities, which is highly dangerous and devastating to the cities and towns that they're in, basically. So she goes to see Jacob Boudreaux, and she busts him all the way out with her information about this New World. Is that, what did I call? Old World. I'm sorry, Old World Energy Company. He is totally shocked. And yeah, she caught him completely off guard. And she made him look stupid in the process because there was a little flirtatious, game slightly going on between them before she dropped the ball of what she found. And, she wants answers, basically. And he admits that he and his mama are in on this as well, basically. But he more or less confirmed everything for her. Then we see Darla, and she meets with the new guy that she's been talking to. And she's just venting. She's going off, and she's upset, and she's crying. And he is concerned about her sobriety and wants her to call her sponsor. And she says, I'm not weak. I'm upset. And she thanks him for coming. I think that's a tough spot. I think Darla feels like she's extremely strong and she's not trying to go back to any old habits. And that she is rightfully pissed off and frustrated because Nova has pierced her new life with all the details of the old one. And instead of the person that she's leaning on for this help that she needs right now, just seeing it for what it is, he's like, you need to call your sponsor. I want you to call you. And she's like, that his mind is in a whole nother place than hers, and it's kind of obvious. It's a missed mark. And as soon as she told him what she said, he should have been like, you know, I'm sorry. He's an addict too, so I understand that he knows. But at the same time, if she says that that's not where her mind is at, you have to give her some credit and work with her. Work with her. Be there for her. You are her new man, right? Okay, then we see Charlie brings Joaquin to Vi's restaurant, and she leaves him alone in Vi's office with her. And he admits that he did this for his mother. Basically, he tells her what's going on. And she says that she will have him work it off, basically. She's like, fine, you're going to show up 3-4 days a week and you're going to work this off. And he agrees. And they go out and she immediately puts him to work. But when she walks out there, it's crazy because she sees all the Mexicans that have shown up with him, and they're in the shop, and they're with the black folks that had already been there, and everyone's cleaning and putting things away, and they're working together, and it's beautiful. They're like doing exactly what we all want them to do, honestly. And at that moment, you see Charlie walk up, and she says, Vi's like, what are they doing? And she's like, they're coming together and they're cleaning up together. And she's like, this is what we do in St. Joe. And Vi is so touched at this moment. I mean, like, this is a good moment, you guys. It is. She's like, they're all here worried about my cafe, and I don't even know some of these people. And Charlie thinks that everyone needs to see what they're all about here, basically, in St. John. So then we're back over to Nova and Calvin, and they're about to end their date, and they aren't sure what to say. It's like standing there, how do we end this, basically. And Nova basically shares all her feelings. She puts it all out there, and she apologizes for holding back and resenting him also. And her apology is extremely profound and detailed and good, y'all. It's like if you're going to receive an apology about a relationship, this is exactly what you want from somebody, because not only is it acknowledging everything that I did wrong, it's showing all of my growth from all the wrong that I did to you. I'm not the same person, okay? And he apologizes also for not being her ideal, the ideal man that she wanted him to be. And they share that they miss each other, basically. And then they promise to keep in touch. And then they part with just a simple little hug. And I'm like, oh, wah, wah, wah. I don't know. I wanted something a little more than that from these two. Okay, then we see St. Josephine and St. Thomas have the next day. They have a silent, united protest against the highway extensions plans to help Old World begin drilling for natural gas on farmlands. So all the Mexicans and the black folks have come together, and they're doing a protest. And they'll have these shirts on that say, I think it's, what is it? United or something like that. It's just it's another powerful moment. Queen Sugar is good at giving us these powerful moments of people standing together and doing what they need to get the job done. All right. The one councilwoman who denied Charlie their help is standing next to her with her matching t-shirt on during this protest, and she spoke out basically because Charlie, said a few. And this woman speaks out also, and the woman speaks out for their cause and makes it known that the city council is right behind them in the midst of all this. Okay. Then we see Nova in her hotel room, and she's packing, getting ready to leave, and there's a knock at the door. It's Calvin, and he shows up. He basically says he wasn't too pleased with their goodbye, and that basically he wants a do-over, or not a goodbye at all, basically. And this is where I'm like, oh my gosh, girls, we get in, I don't know, we love to see somebody love, right? Bring it back together. It's good. And that's exactly where he went. They basically say that why can't these newer, better versions of us here and now do this? And she agrees, but she's flat out honest. I'm scared. And she wants them to completely know these new versions before before they are all the way, you know, considered like back with each other. She wants to start from new, like I just met this person basically, and it's the smartest thing they can do. All right, so they agree, and then they share the kiss here, guys. The one I've been waiting for. All right, then all right, where'd I miss? They kiss. Oh, okay. Then we're over to Micah. My gosh. Okay, Micah's at home and he's looking through pictures, and Charlie comes over to see, and he's showing her pictures of that day. They're still wearing their protest shirts, basically. And he's basically telling her, you did this, Mom. And the pictures are really beautiful, and they show the black and brown folks standing together to do better, stronger for their land, their homes. And he thinks that she should use them for her campaign, basically, because she's running for city council. And she's like, I don't want people thinking that's the reason that I did this. And he presses her on this because he knows how helpful this can be. And, you know, she's still not agreeing. He's like, okay, he's all, but still, my mom's a badass. And, you know, Charlie's not comfortable with him cursing, but she's like, but yes, I am. Okay, I'll take that. All right, then at this moment, she gets a phone call, and you can tell it's kind of crazy. She's asking the person to slow down. I don't understand you. And the person on the phone lets her know that the mill, Queen Sugar, is on fire. Those damn Landrys. Anyway, that's the end of the episode. Hope y'all like my review. Let me know. Hit the like button. Become a subscriber, okay? Have a good weekend. Bye.